hello, hello. It is 2024. I don't really even want to say Happy New Year because that is the topic of today. Can you wish someone a Happy New Year and actually believe that that's all they're going to get? Would you throw a ball up and not expect it to also come down? This world we live in is made up of opposites, polarities, opposites. You can't have one without the other. We get really high on peace on earth. It's never happened. Why do we keep on thinking? We keep teaching each other, you can just be happy. No, you can't just be happy. You can't just run without stopping. There's inhalation and exhalation. Life is contrasts. Outer life is contrasts and polarities. And the sooner we include both in the outer world, that's our playground. When I say playground, I'm talking about where we work, where we socialize, what we think about, what we desire, what we recoil from. So if you're like me, you've been bombarded by manifestation offerings, ways in the new year to get more, have more, be more abundance, more freedom, more joy, more. Where do you think New Year's resolutions came from? I think they came from recriminations from the last year. Manifestation, if you haven't been part of the subtext or the subgroups that believe that a really clear mind, a spiritually attuned, advanced person can manifest higher, bigger, more, and be so connected to the powers of the universe that they create more and more and more. And if you tracked scientifically people who followed manifestation principles, you'd probably find that they got much of that stuff. But what nobody's tracking is the opposites that they also got. And if you want to take credit for the new car and the new job and the more money and the bigger house and the whatever it is you want, even if it's the feeling behind more joy, more peace, more freedom, if you want to take credit, then you'll also have to take the blame for when you don't have it, when the ball comes down and you're not joyful and you're actually disgusted or in pain or revolted or judgmental or whatever. I want to offer you something else. Let's step out of the personal self that has the arrogance and ignorance to think that we control life. I know that's not popular. There won't be thousands of people that want to hear this. Most people want to know words that you can have anything you want if you just do this. Set your mind, make it singular. That's your mind. But anybody who's had a sudden death, an illness, that's had spiritual practices every day and efforted to be non-judgmental and kind and checked out all their fears so they'd be loving. And then they had a great loss or sudden death of someone close, or some disease or car accident, or their house gets demolished in the weather, some kind of weather. Ask them if they're in control of life. The beauty of going through something like that, like I did with my daughter, is that when she died, and I was lucky enough to be shaken so that I saw that, yes, she was still gone. She did die, but not in the usual way we think of with death. But that's not the topic of today. The topic of today is that I have kept that knowing that we are not in control of life. Now, you kind of know that about the weather, because no matter how much you try to manifest a beautiful day, sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. But if you take yourself out of the control position, you will still be dynamic and active, because this world is evolving. It will ask you to participate, and you'll have a desire to go forward. And sometimes you'll have a desire to pull back or recoil or withdraw. And as long as you are willing to see yourself as the instrument of life, that life moves through you, and you're an embodiment, but not the controller, there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot that never goes away, even when we're in the middle of a recoil. And you like to think, well, I like to stay in non-judgment. I wouldn't recoil. But if you're honest and you've lived in this world, you've been trained, just like I have, to take care of your teeth, to groom yourself. I don't know a mother that didn't have a moment when they let their 2 or 3 or 4-year-old go to school unkempt, refusing to comb their hair, and with a mismatched outfit or shorts in the winter, middle of the winter, that didn't have a moment of, what will people think, or what do I think? Or I was very surprised to see a man whose teeth were, I don't even know how to describe them. He was a nice looking man. And I don't think of myself as caring that much what other people look like. It's not big in my mind. But when he smiled and I saw his rotten teeth, I actually had a feeling of disgust. But that's just a moment. That doesn't mean anything unless I make it mean something and I judge myself for having that feeling or try to love the person. I don't have to try to love him. I do love him. That moment means nothing unless I add to it or create meaning. So I urge you to start to be interested in the sweet spot that's neither invested in what you want or what you don't want, and be very interested in the isness of whatever is happening, whether it's something you didn't want or something you did want. And I know we've been trained to believe that that's passive. It might be passive because it's effortless in the sense of a doer, but it takes quite a bit of courage to go against what we've been taught, in the sense that not be a follower and believe that happiness comes from trying to get more and be the doer. To be the receiver of life is not passive. It's a very conscious, active process of welcoming what is so that there's a new moment. We don't lie to ourselves and pretend we like everything. We welcome the consciousness of the playground of the whole continuum. And I leave you with one more inspiration. Think of a great pianist or actor. If they're focused on doing a great performance and looking at your response, or they're asking themselves how they're doing, neither of those are going to be the sweet spot. But letting go of both, what do I think? What do you think? And being in the moment, oh, I invite you to explore that. Try to figure out in your life what that could mean for a new year. It's a very active, inspirational experience to be with what is. Even when you catch yourself mad at being frozen, I couldn't get warm on my trip. And it was funny to watch myself. It didn't mean anything. Neither did it mean anything when I recoiled at the rotten teeth. And it wasn't worse than loving the vista or loving the room where I was upgraded. So, how does this apply in your life? Where is your sweet spot in between that's very lively and full of adventure and mystery? I just want to add one more thing. I was on a podcast where I really wanted this woman who was a literary champion to have appreciated my book, and she didn't read it. And so for the first moment, I didn't even know I had that expectation or desire. And I had to go back and look at that podcast to summarize it for a website. It was so wonderful. She asked me things she would not have asked me had she read the book. So expectations and intent can actually limit our experience. I know that's not the popular view. Where do you fall on this? Bye for now.